Rocky franchise is one of my absolute favorite movie franchises, so today I'm going to stop and rank all 8 Rocky training montages from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I started this channel because I was driving everyone crazy talking about movies way too much. If you can relate, you're probably in the right place, and consider clicking that subscribe button. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of the 8 training montages in the Rocky films. My list isn't the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. One more thing before we get started. People ask me all the time, where do I get my posters, my Funkos, what equipment do I use for my videos? There's a link down below in the description that'll show you a list of all of that fun stuff and where you can pick it up. And let's get started. In last place is Rocky 5. Like most things about this film, it's really ill-conceived and misses what people love about the Rocky films and the training montages specifically. We do have a training montage here while the song Go For It plays, and you see Rocky training Tommy starting to win some fights, and then you have Rocky Jr. training with Paulie to fight his bullies. And none of this is really inspiring, none of it amps you up, because it all ties into Rocky's faults and a bunch of the drama of the film, because you have Rocky ignoring his son who keeps looking at him longingly, you have Rocky training this jerk, and then even the idea of a middle school boy being bullied and training to fight the bullies isn't like what you think of, like, yeah, a Rocky movie. So when you put it all together, it doesn't have the iconic shots, it's not inspiring in the least, and it's not particularly interesting. Number 7, Creed. Now, I really like this film, but this sequence works better in the context of the movie with their character development than it does as a classic, iconic training montage. During it, it's cutting back and forth between Adonis training for the fight, Rocky training him, and Rocky going through chemotherapy, vomiting into toilets, and other things like that, which in the context of the film has a lot of dramatic weight. But when it comes to when you think Rocky training montages get you amped up to go work out, the cutting between the two has a very different vibe to it. Likewise, just when it comes to the training itself, it's a lot more traditional actual boxing training. So punching bags, running on a treadmill, things like that that aren't as interesting to watch as you get in some of the other montages. And then when it does kind of go for its own iconic new shot with him running down the street with the dirt bikes and motorbikes and everything behind him, I don't know, didn't hit the right notes for me. So while I really like this movie, the sequence fits in the film. When I think iconic Rocky training montage, this is one of the lower ones for me. Next up is Rocky 3. This might be a controversial placement, but I've never been on high on this one or this movie as a lot of other people, though of course I really do enjoy it. When it comes to my Rocky training montages, I really enjoy kind of like more the feats of strength, these outside the box type exercises, but in the context of this film and this training montage, it's a lot more about Apollo training Rocky to be a proper boxer, and so he's doing actual conditioning type training. So he's jumping rope, he's swimming in a pool, and he's doing drills and stuff like that. And so you don't get some of the other things that I really enjoy that we get in a bunch of the other training montages. Likewise, it's a whole lot of them running on the beach with close-up shots of their shaved legs, and it works really well in the context of the franchise in regard to showing their friendship being formed, and it's really important in that regard. But when it comes to just like that training montage, amp you up, this one isn't the one that I go to as much. Number 5 is Rocky Balboa. Now, from here on out on this list, I really enjoy all of these training montages. This one kicks off with this awesome speech from Duke, which for me, this is Duke's best stuff in the entire franchise.
Heavy duty, cast iron, pile driving punches that will have to hurt so much they'll rattle his ancestors.
Then we go into the actual training, and they actually try to contextualize for what would a 60-year-old man trying to box try and do in the fight, and it wouldn't try and be the super quick moving fast guy. He would just rely entirely on his strength and his durability. And so then they shift the training for all those purposes, and you see Rocky doing a lot more of just literal strength building, some classic exercises that we haven't seen as much in these training montages. Now, this one definitely plays the nostalgia card. You've got him drinking eggs, punching meat, running up the steps. And so while maybe it's leaning a little bit too much on the memory of the original, it hit all the right notes for me. Then we have Creed 2. This time Adonis finally gets his iconic training montage, and it does it by removing him from the city, taking away all the technology, and having him head out to the desert for our first desert training montage inside of the Rocky franchise. And in doing so, I think it created something unique and distinct out of all of these. The training is different in that they're doing all this close quarter fighting where they're putting their feet inside of these tires, they're slamming dirt. Adonis is getting chased in the desert by a car, and it's also intercutting back to the Dragos as they're doing training. So you have a little bit of that competitive nature happening inside of the training as well. But this was just a cool way to do something different that doesn't feel like it's rehashing the previous ones. New direction, new images, new iconic shots, and give something distinct for Donnie and his training. Real quick before I give you my top 3, remember to share your ranking down below in the comment section. Once again, my list is not the right list. It's just my list, and I would love to see yours and have a fun conversation about these movies and sequences that I absolutely love. Also, if you don't know, I ranked all of the Rocky movies after Creed 2 came out. You can check that out right up here. And assuming this video does well, I do plan on ranking the Rocky final fights in the near future. In third place is Rocky 2. While it might not be as iconic as the original, it makes up for it by being twice as big and twice as long. It kicks off with this memorable shot in the hospital where Adrian tells Rocky to win, and then Mickey screams, "What are we waiting for? Take this!" And then we go straight into our training montage that tries to like one-up everything that worked really nicely in the original one. So you see him doing the one-arm push-ups, but even smoother than before, lifting more weights over his head, getting smacked in the stomach while doing his sit-ups. And then just as you think it's done, you're like, okay, that was a pretty cool little training montage. He's putting his baby down. Then he jumps out the door, starts running, and we're only halfway through the training montage as he runs through the city, as you kind of see his fame growing, as children start to chase after him, and you kind of creates its own new images to associate with this film that kind of show who Rocky is becoming, as he's not just kind of this shy guy anymore, but he's embracing the fact that maybe he is someone that is kind of important, runs up the steps with all these children, and you kind of do get its own iconic end to this montage. Our runner-up is Rocky. The original training montage is still absolutely one of the best. It might not be the flashiest one, but it has all the things that you want from one of these Rocky training montages. It's also probably the dirtiest of the bunches. When he's wearing a shirt, it's all covered in sweat and dirt. There's nothing fancy about what he owns or where he's training. This is just a guy that wants to go the distance, and he's training along to get there. And this one is just jam-packed with iconic shots. You have him doing these one-arm push-ups where he's jumping back and forth between arms, and then he ends it with these clap push-ups. You have the sequence where he's running along a street, and he just starts running faster and faster and faster. And then, of course, it closes out with maybe one of the most iconic Rocky images, him running up the steps, putting his arms up in the air as he realizes he's victorious in all of his training. Put it all together. This is what started it all, and it is still fantastic. But coming in at first place is Rocky 4, the training montage of all training montages in a movie jam-packed with montages. At this point in time, Stallone was at the peak of his career, had mastered his craft, and knew how to deliver exactly what the audience wanted, and in doing so, crafts this epic 10-minute long back-to-back training montage sequence where you see him go out into the wilderness to train, removing all distractions, brings Duke along, and then it has kind of this back and forth between his training with Dragos that just adds to the intensity, the competition between the two of them, as you have the guy that went primal and primitive with the guy with experts and technology, the person that's all about passion, and the one that's all about technical proficiency, the one that goes all natural, the one that's seen using steroids inside of it. And then as they're training, you of course see Rocky unwilling to quit as he does all of these feats of strength, these crazy exercises, and literally scales a mountain. And of course, the most important details in here, as he trains, as his strength grows, so does his epic beard, all leading up to him scaling a mountain, screaming Drago out over the entire world as he realizes he'll be victorious. This is when you think about a sequence designed to be the most epic of training montages, this is the one that comes to mind, so it comes in at number 1. If you enjoyed this video and want more like it, check out that Rocky ranking right over there. I do plan on ranking the final fights in the near future, assuming you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.